Okay, so good evening and welcome to an introduction to artificial intelligence, or AI. This session is the second of a series of 5. Our first session looked at online safety and the 360 Safe tool. And this session is the first of 4 sessions related to artificial intelligence, or AI, in your schools. In this session, we're going to sort of just get to grips with what AI actually is and understand a little bit behind why we have it and what it is. The second session then, which will run next Monday, we'll look at guidance and policy for your school. So how do we develop guidance for your staff on how they use AI appropriately and ethically. The third session then, which will run the following week, will be on AI prompt craft. So how do we prompt the AI chatbots to provide us with the information that we need, that we can work with and use then moving forward. And then the fourth session then will be on AI in your curriculum. So looking at the AI tools that are currently available to you to be able to support teaching and learning in the classroom, but also then looking at how we teach about AI and the resources that are available to us to be able to do that. So that's a bit of a rundown and overview of the 4 sessions, and I'll provide you the link to sign up for the second session if you haven't done so already at the end of this presentation. So my name's Sean Powell, for those who've never met me before. I'm the Associate Curriculum Partner for Digital Skills at the EAS. My role is to support you and your schools with digital competence, digital skills across the curriculum and with strategy, vision, etc., etc. So I'll just leave that there for a second. If anyone wants to take my contact details, you're welcome to do so. My email and my contact number are there. If you do require any support in your school with digital technology, then please feel free to get in touch. So in tonight's session then, we're going to hopefully cover 3 different things. The first one then being what is artificial intelligence? The second being what is generative AI, so a subfield of artificial intelligence. And a third one then just having a little look at what tools are available to you right now, some things for you to go and play with before we come back for the session later on in the series. Now, tonight's session is essentially been built and designed using these resources that you can see here on the screen. So I would highly recommend checking out the Microsoft Learn platform for AI training and guidance, teachai.org. As a platform for developing support and guidance in your school. And then also then the 2 books there, the AI Classroom and the Back to School AI Guide, both written by Dan Fitzpatrick, who's quite a he's out there, he's quite vocal about AI in schools. He's got lots of great information about it, and those books are really, really good about thinking about how we now bring this into the classroom safely and responsibly as well. So I think it's really important off the back of that to just really consider the following quote. And McKinsey and Company have said that we'll experience more technological progress in the coming decade, the next 10 years, than we have done in the last 100 years put together. So I'll be really interested in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute and kind of participate. What technological advancements have we had in the last 100 years? If you think about how technology has changed, what things have we seen over the last 100 years that have kind of revolutionized the way that we live? So I'll just give you 30 seconds there to have a think of an idea and pop one in the chat for me, please. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, so things like the microchip, mobile phones as well, a smartphone, social media communication, absolutely. Renewable energy. Any more? Electric cars, yeah, absolutely. I think, one more then from Louise. Air travel, yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Louise. Yeah, if we think about over the last 100 years, we think immediately, probably most recently, we think about things like electric cars and renewable energies. We also think about things like internet, the first flight and transport, things like computing, telephones, smartphones, putting people on the moon, the microwave. And you think, these things have happened over 100 years, and we're going to have quicker advancement over the next 10 years than we've done than any of those past 100 years. So really, really important to highlight that this is going to be a fast moving piece, and it's something that we need to be aware of and something that we need to keep on top of. So just before we get started looking at what AI actually is then, again, answers in the chat for me, please. What AI tools are you already familiar with? So what things have you heard about on the news? Have you tried? Have you read about? what things are the big hitters at the moment. So yes, you've got ChatGPT, and I think ChatGPT was the one that kind of exploded onto the scene, wasn't it? About 18, 19 months ago, where it was the first kind of open source, open to anybody chatbot that people could use. We've got things like Alexa. Yeah, absolutely. The AI built into Alexa. Google Gemini, which is Google's version of ChatGPT, one that they've built themselves. It's not powered by any other GPT. It's one that they've created. TeachMate AI, yeah, another tool where you've got a range of prompts that you can use to generate resources and plans, etc. And also Claude as well, which is a similar tool to ChatGPT. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I think the three big hitters that most people I think have heard of are ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot. So those of you who've got a Windows device, you might see that little Copilot logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen with a yellow banner and the word pre written on it. So that is a GPT built into your device that you'll be able to use. And also then Google Gemini as well, which is coming out, which is out now and is actually a really, really powerful tool to be using. But before we sort of think about GPTs and these big things that are in the news, I think it's really important to highlight that actually AI has been around for a lot longer than we would have thought about. So somebody mentioned Alexa in the chat. So things like Siri, Google Assistant, they all allow us to perform a range of tasks from setting reminders and alarms to controlling our smart devices. But have you ever stopped to think about how they actually work? Those devices use natural language processing, or NLP, and machine learning to understand what we're saying and provide the appropriate response. So when you ask Alexa to set a 10-minute timer for your pasta, it's recognizing your voice, understanding what you are asking it to do, and then performing a task off the back of it as well. I think we've all noticed that on Facebook and other social media apps that it always seems to know what we're interested in or what we're talking about, and that's because these social media giants, they use AI to analyze your activity across a number of different platforms, things like cookies as an example, and they then provide you with personalized content. So that will include things such as targeted ads, suggested friends, and in some cases news articles as well. Now, Twitter, or X, is also using AI to analyze and filter tweets, which help in the pursuit of trying to provide you with a timeline with the most relevant and useful content to what you're looking for. We've already partly mentioned some smart home devices, with things like thermostats, light bulbs, security systems. They all use AI to learn your preferences and then adjust the settings accordingly. For example, a smart thermostat in your home can start learning now when you're typically at home, and it will then adjust the temperature accordingly. So a smart security system can learn what is normal and then alert you if anything seems to be out of the ordinary. Again, much like social media giants, when we shop online, you will often see that we can be presented with what we call personalized recommendations. And again, that's because the online retailers use AI to analyze your shopping behavior and then suggest products that are likely to interest you. That, I suppose, is sometimes a bit scary, but also quite convenient because it helps you to find other things that you're interested in and things that you like too. But outside of that, we're now starting to see AI being used in the healthcare industry. So, for example, AI-powered chatbots can now provide patients with advice and support from home. It can also be used to help analyze medical data, such as X-rays, CT scans, and actually help doctors now make more accurate diagnoses on the things that they're seeing. So I think it's key that AI is being used in finance everywhere. It's finance, transportation, education, and lots of other industries. In fact, it's probably harder now to think about an industry that isn't being impacted by AI in some way. So that's just a few examples of actually how we are already dealing with AI on a day-to-day basis that we weren't already aware of. And I think one of the things that we're starting to see now is that AI is really, really powerful in ways that we probably hadn't imagined before. And I think, of course, the introduction of AI in these open source systems can be exciting, but I think what that video highlights is it also comes with risks. And I think before we begin to integrate AI into our schools and our systems, it's important that you check with your LA GDPR teams to ensure that the tools that you want to use that are outside of the Hub platform are safe and secure. There are already a number of tools within Hub that can be used if you're looking to introduce AI. As an example, Adobe Firefly, which is an image generator, is safe and it's available through the Adobe Express tools within Hub. But just to reiterate that if you are looking to introduce AI tools into school, please make sure that you check with your LA GDPR teams first before you start sharing information and data with them. Because lots of these tools will take the data that you use and they will use that then to train other models to provide information as well. But I think the power of AI is going to be absolutely astronomical. And I think these images here highlight a really, really interesting use of it and something that is going to be really important moving forward. I think in February 2023, Osaka University in Japan released an academic paper where they trained an AI model to understand MRI scans. And what they did was they got participants to view a job lot of stock photos, and they put the MRI scans as they were looking at those photos into an AI model. Now, because they got the participants to view tens and tens of thousands of images, what the AI MRI machine began to learn was what an MRI scan would look like based on the shapes and the colours within the photos. So they got to the point where they asked the participants to look at a particular image and think of an image. So the images on top there in the red boxes are the images that they were thought of and looking at. And then the MRI scan fed into the AI model produced the images in the black squares at the bottom. So you can see the power of something just from an MRI scan, what that could be used for in the future to really think about understanding the brain and how it works, and possibly, you know, saving many lives in the process too. So just a really exciting way that AI tool can be used. So then why is AI an important topic? So, you know, we're hearing the buzzword around all the time now. Why do we need to really focus on artificial intelligence? And I think, you know, if we look at some of the data from around the world around why this is important, I think if we look at the data that's out there, so from UNESCO here, they say that only 7% of education systems provide guidance about the use of generative AI. And at the moment within Wales, we don't have a Welsh government level guidance for AI, but there's definitely some principles that we'll work towards in the session next week. I think this is another interesting one here. Around 75% of people have never used AI at present. Around 7% use it at work and can teach about the applications, things like bias, hallucinations, and misinformation, and some basic technical aspects, but we're still nowhere near being able to use AI effectively. And I think, again, as educators who are going to be supporting learners with their understanding of AI, it's probably quite, it's highlighted here that a lot of people do not have an experience of using AI, and they're not quite sure what it is and how it works. In terms of professional learning, 87% of educators have cited that they never received any professional learning about AI. I suppose you guys being here tonight is a starting point for that. But again, we can't just expect our educators to go into using AI without having an understanding of what AI is and how it can be used effectively. Positively, 43% of educators believe AI in education should be a priority, because again, there's going to be lots of benefits and positive things to come out of this, but also there's risks and those drawbacks. 16% of teachers believe that students know how to use AI well, while 18% of teachers believe they personally know how to use AI well. So I think there's a perceived lack of preparations and students of teachers alike here. So we really need to do some work on ensuring that staff know how to use these tools. Again, 76% of teachers have not used AI. And around that, those teachers that are, though, they're doing it in a positive way. So on the right-hand side, you can see here that they're using AI to support them with planning and preparation, communicating with parents, providing sort of individualized, personalized learning for the learners as well. So lots and lots of data to suggest that AI is going to have a positive impact. And I think here, this kind of highlights where AI is going to have a benefit in the classroom, in that it's going to be able to provide one-to-one personalized learning. You're going to be able to create custom quizzes and provide custom feedback through AI. So those of you familiar with practice sets at the moment, it's a tool within Google Classroom where you can set up almost like a Microsoft form. Your learners then can go through and respond to some of those questions. And if they get the question wrong, the AI in practice sets will identify a video that can be used to support them understanding that concept. So again, lots of uses that we'll dig into a little bit further. Importantly, the World Economic Forum have identified that by 2027 there'll be over 1 million new jobs just using AI and machine learning, and that machine learning jobs will grow by around 40% over the next 3 years. The skills that are required for job success are changing, and I think people have said now that the fear is that AI will take your job. It won't be AI that will take your job. It'll be somebody who knows how to use it effectively as well. And the LinkedIn Future of Work report has identified that essentially English language job postings mentioning GPTs or ChatGPT has increased 21 times over since November 22. So a huge amount of employers now, big companies, looking at artificial intelligence skills. And moreover, it's quite important to note that a lot of these big companies now are investing billions and billions and billions of pounds into developing AI systems that are going to support their workflow as well. So that's a little bit of background around why it's important. Let's now dig into actually what is artificial intelligence, what is AI, and how does it affect us? So a definition from the American Heritage Dictionary highlights that artificial intelligence is the ability of a computer or another machine to perform those activities or tasks that are normally thought to require intelligence. So those of you who've had a little play around with the GPT, you can ask it to write you an action plan on something. It will do the thinking for you and it will check it out the other end. So essentially that computer is doing the thinking for you. So what I'd like to know really then is there's lots of positives and benefits to using AI. What are your current concerns? If you had a concern now about AI and how it's being used, what would your concerns be? So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to a minute there. If you've got any concerns about AI, please pop them into the chat. That's not really fact. Well, there's lots of concerns in terms of the real world, and thank you, Alex, for popping that in the chat for us. Yeah, children thinking AI will do all the work for them. And I think that is a real concern, isn't it? That children become reliant on AI. And I think as we go through these sessions, we start thinking about AI in our curriculum later on in the series, it's important to highlight that actually AI can make mistakes. There's an interesting meme or image that I've seen out there at the moment where somebody asks ChatGPT how many R's there are in strawberry. And it keeps saying, well, there are 2 R's in strawberry, and it spells it out STRAWBERRY. See, there are 2 R's in strawberry. And the person prompting the tool says, no, there are actually 3. And it says, yes, you're right. There are 2 R's in strawberry. So GPTs and these chatbots can make mistakes. So teaching children to make sure they double check the information that's been provided to them, make sure they read over it. Another example, a school I was working with, a secondary pupil had handed in a piece of work and they'd copied and pasted from ChatGPT into their assignment. And the first sentence of the assignment said, sure, here is a model example or model answer for this topic. So they hadn't even pre-read it, they just copied and pasted straight across and hadn't realized that really they'd left in the bit that told somebody that they'd used a chatbot. So let's have a little look then at some of the things that AI is and AI isn't, because on the not side there, probably some of the concerns that you tend to hear out and about in the public. So on the left-hand side, AI is essentially lots of those things, some of the things we highlighted earlier on in the session. So things like how autofocus on your camera or how your light adjusts is down to AI, fraud alerts on your credit cards. That's an algorithm that's kind of noticed a different pattern to your spending. Text to speech on your phone. So when you dictating into WhatsApp or Messenger or something along those lines, that's AI, and that can be translated and used in different languages. Maps on your phone. So when you're going from one place to another and it tells you that this journey is going to be 5 minutes shorter if you take a left here. That is all AI doing the route planning in the background using the data it's getting to do it. And I think the key thing here is, and one of the worries is that AI is not a sci-fi movie or for people living in tech-heavy cities. It's not a killer robot coming to take you. It's definitely going to be a part of our students' future work life. And I think it's important then that we need to teach with and about AI moving forward. Just like computers or the internet, it's not going to go away. This is something that's going to be part and parcel now of education for many, many years to come. So I suppose with all this excitement and apprehension, a brief history of AI is useful to know about. And there's been several momentous milestones in the field that have brought us to this kind of inflection point that we're seeing today. Now, AI has a long and history that spans many kind of decades. Some of the earliest work in AI was done in the 1950s and 60s, where researchers first began to explore the possibility of creating machines that could think like humans. During the 50s and 60s, AI focused on what was called symbolic AI, which involved creating symbolic representations of knowledge and using them to solve problems. Now, researchers in this field developed early versions of what are now known as expert systems, which are basically computer programs that mimic the decision-making abilities of human experts in a specific domain. In the 70s and 80s, AI research began to shift away from symbolic AI towards something called sub-symbolic AI, which involved using statistical methods and mathematical models to solve problems. Now, this shift was driven in part by the realization that symbolic AI was too complex and difficult to scale, to make bigger, and in part by that development of new computer hardware that made it possible to process large amounts of data quickly. In the 1990s and 2000s, AI research continued to evolve, and some of the new subfields that we know about today began to emerge. One of these was machine learning, which focuses on creating algorithms that allow computers to learn from data without being explicitly programmed. Another was neural networks, which are mathematical models inspired by the structure and function of the human brain. Now, recently, generative models like ChatGPT or DALL-E, if those of you are aware of those, they have risen to the top and continue to advance the field of AI. So these models are able to generate new examples that are similar to examples in the data set that they've been trained on. It's being used in diverse fields such as natural language processing, computer vision, speech recognition, and many, many more. So overall, since its inception in the 50s, AI has come a long way and it continues to evolve and improve at a rapid pace today. So we thought about what AI is and what AI isn't, and I think this slide really sums up what education with AI could look like and what education with AI isn't going to be. So it can be exciting, and I think some of our tools are already using it for personalized learning. Those of you who remember the old Microsoft Clippy used to appear on the screen when you were writing a letter, and it would say, "Oh, I can see you're writing a letter. Would you like me to help you with that?" That is a very, very early iteration of an AI chatbot on your device, and that was around in Windows 95. So we're talking 30 years ago. But in terms of AI in education, professional development is going to be really, really important. Our teachers can increase engagement. They can offer more tailored differentiation in less time. We should be able to move seamlessly between paper-based and digital learning. Things like handwriting detection, which will automate rote tasks. Things like attendance, parent communications, being able to identify students who need additional support. These are all things that AI is going to be able to do for us within education. What it's not going to do is replace teachers. Teachers are the most important and critical part of this learning process because they provide the human connection and the motivation. Whenever you're thinking about your policy or using AI in your school, think teacher first, AI second. AI isn't going to solve every problem in your school, but it will support learning and should ensure that our learners and students are prepared for the digital age. And we'll do that through something called AI literacy, which is the knowledge, skills, and attitudes associated with how artificial intelligence works, including its principles, concepts, and applications, as well as how we use artificial intelligence, such as its limitations, its implications, and its ethical considerations. So essentially, this is a collection of skills that children need to understand to be able to critically evaluate AI. AI literacy will ensure that our students know how to use AI, as well as how it works through things like computer science as well. What if we do nothing? What if we just carry on as we are? We don't think about AI and we leave it be. Well, AI is going to potentially widen the digital divide. It's not really an option. Just like having access to the internet or ensuring that all learners in class have access to a device, AI is potentially the next digital divide. Some students in schools will be taught how to use AI responsibly and ethically as part of their learning, whilst others won't. Some learners will have access to digital tutors and AI tools that speed up their work, whilst also enhancing their learning through those personalised experiences. Others will be restricted. So when the world of work has already shifted to the AI reality, these children, these learners are going to be at a disadvantage. So I'm really hoping that when you start to think about using AI tools, you use the ones available within Hub, which are equitable access to all learners across the board. And then some of the challenges we spoke about a short while ago. I think some of the things looking at this table here highlight some of the questions that people do have about AI in education. So the present risk will often feel like, how do we stop children from cheating? And this might be something pertinent to the secondary colleagues on the call. But the opportunity really is, how could we use those AI tools to help improve education? How can we bring in the opportunity to use AI as part of assignment to support and scaffold learning? We worry about the future. We worry about AI replacing teachers, but the opportunity really is how can we rethink education in the age of AI? How can AI support you with your workload, support you with planning, with resourcing, and give you more time to be present in the classroom? So all of those questions there are true and real, and we need to address all of these different things as we go through the process of implementing AI into our school and classroom. I think this was really, really interesting, something that comes up in Dan Fitzpatrick's book. And Nicholas Cole, who is a writer in the digital field, said the following: if ChatGPT is cheating, then so is Google. And if Google is cheating, so are the giant libraries that house millions of words of text. And if libraries are cheating, then so is learning. And if learning is cheating, then I suppose every new argument has prompted the same, every new technology has prompted the same argument. The sky is falling, but it never turns out to be true. It simply lowers the barrier to entry and in the end creates more opportunity and abundance than before it existed. So I think that's a really key thing for me. It's something that really, really stuck out around, whenever something new comes along, there's that fear, that panic. This is a real opportunity to provide opportunity and creativity to our learners. So we'll go over this a bit more in our session next week, looking at guidance and policy, but you can see here some potential benefits that we've already highlighted, but some of the risks of using AI in our school, which is why it's important to highlight that if you're going to use AI tools, use the ones in Hub, or if you're using anything external to Hub, that you've done a proper LA GDPR check. They will do something called a DPIA, which is really, really important. And that is basically just understanding that the data you share with those tools is not going any further. But those potential risks of using AI, you can see there across the bottom. So things like misinformation, something that we teach and should be teaching through our citizenship strands at the moment, less accountability, compromised privacy, over-reliance, which is what Alex said in the chat earlier. And there's also in some tools, societal bias and lack of cultural sensitivity. There's been a few articles out there about image generators that tend to produce images that have a societal bias as part of them as well. We highlighted some of the benefits and risks earlier, but you can see those there in the table. Some of the things that I think are really going to be useful in time, the ability to personalize that learning, customize learning experiences for our students, adapting to their learning styles, their strengths, their weaknesses, recommending coursework or homework that they could use, adjusting the pace of that learning. There's a huge benefit to having things like personalized learning. Efficiency and productivity as a teacher. The teacher workload is really tough. AI is going to be able to automate a lot of those administrative tasks, such as things as marking, providing feedback, freeing up time for you to focus on instruction, and the key thing, the interaction with the students as well. But again, you can see some of those risks there, but I won't go into those in too much detail. So let's move then towards the latter half of the session, or the latter third, sorry, and just look at what is generative AI. We've spoken about what AI is, but what is that subfield, generative AI? So as we kind of saw there in the video, generative AI is kind of newer in the landscape. It's a subfield of artificial intelligence that focuses on creating systems that generate new examples, such as things like images, text, or speech, that are similar to the examples from the data set they were drawn from. So the goal of generative AI is to develop an algorithm that can learn the underlying probability of a given data set and then use that knowledge to generate new examples that are similar to the examples in the data set that we have. So generative AI models work by using models to extract information to then generate its new example. And a really simple way of kind of recognizing generative AI, those of you who've got a smartphone, who use WhatsApp or iMessage or Messenger or things like Gmail, Outlook, as you're typing a sentence, what's happening is it's predicting in front of you what you're trying to say. That is generative AI using the data set to predict what's coming next. So when we think about the generative AI, there's three things really that AI can do. It can create, it can communicate, and it can code. So you can start now asking it to create a code for you to do something in a different platform. So generative AI uses something called a large language model, and let's find out a little bit more about what an LLM actually is. So the LLM, basically the large language model, is a term that refers to AI models that can generate natural language texts from large amounts of data. What it can do is it does certain tasks, as it says on the screen there. It can do things such as classification, summarization, translation, generation, and also almost like a dialogue with you. And I think the key thing to note, and we'll focus on this in session 3 when we look at effective prompt craft for using these tools, is almost like thinking of it as an assistant, as if you're having a conversation with the tool as well. Now, you could use tools that have pre-built templates in there, but those pre-built templates are going to be built around a set of parameters that tool has been designed for. Being able to use and interact with one of these chatbots is going to be a really important tool for you moving forward. There are a number of different types of generative AI platforms, as you can see here on the screen. Text to image, text to code, text to text, image to text, and that's just a small amount of those. And this image here was taken out of that AI classroom book, which is a highly recommended read. But just to show you some examples of how we could potentially use it, and we'll go again into more detail in this in later sessions. This is a text-to-text generative AI. I have basically prompted Copilot here. I've said, you're an experienced leader of digital technologies in a primary school. Write me a guidance document about the use of social media for my school leaders, teachers, and support staff. And instantly then it's drawn on all this information and started to generate this guidance for me. So just an example of how that could be used for one task. We could also use text to image. So that's where it will transform written words into pictures. And I'm seeing lots of people using the Adobe Firefly tool within Adobe Express to create images and to really make things engaging for our learners. So you can see here the prompt that I asked was create an image of an educator still on the beach after the summer holiday whilst tuning into an online session all about AI. And that's what it gave out to me. We've also got things like text to audio. For those of you who have used things like the read aloud tool in Britannica. Can sound quite robotic, but this tool here, I was able to put in this text and then it plays actually in real lifelike form. You can see there that actually there's more expression, there's more intonation. It really emphasizes particular words better than any of those robotic things we've had in the past. This is another one of my favorite one, draw to image. So on the left hand side here, I kind of did a little scribble and then provided it with a prompt of mountains and a river with a sunset. And then the image on the right is the image that it chucked out for me following my little drawing and my little prompt. So that's just some examples of things that we could do. And I said in a later session, we will dive into how to do this properly. But what is available to you right now? So there's a number of different tools that you can use within the Hub platform that are AI powered and AI driven that are going to support learning. The first one I've mentioned a number of times there in the top left hand corner is Adobe Express, the image generator within there. Not just an image generator though, you can have things such as generative fill. You've got an AI template builder now built in there too, as well. And you've also got the animate from audio tool, which is all done by AI. Microsoft Copilot, so that is copilot.microsoft.com. You can access the Copilot web browser using your Hub login. Anything that you do within your Hub login in the Copilot web browser, your data is safe and protected. So if you're going to have a go at playing around with a chatbot, go use your Hub login through copilot.microsoft.com. In Microsoft Teams, those of you who use Teams, if you create a new assignment and you go to Learning Accelerators, you've got the reading progress, search progress, and speaker progress tools, all powered by AI. So reading progress will have the learners reading from a text. It will pick up any mistakes that they've made. It will provide you with an overview of their fluency, how accurate they are, and so on and so forth. Search progress, as demonstrated in the video just now, is about how learners search for information online and identify misinformation. And speaker progress, built into PowerPoint, is all about developing confidence when presenting. So it will tell you, it will give you in the moment feedback about the pace you're reading at, the tone of your voice, whether you're using too many filler words, whether your words are inclusive. It's a really, really great tool, and we'll demonstrate some of these in our AI in the curriculum session. Also within Teams assignments, you've got the ability to create an assignment using AI and also to generate rubrics using AI as well. So you can put in, so say for example, this one here was the solar system. Create me a rubric on a child's understanding of the solar system, and then it will then check out for you a rubric that you can use for assessment. And the final one there to have a little look at, it's quite hard to see because it's quite small, but if I magnify this, that's not going to work, sorry. Practice sets, which is in Google Classroom. When you create an assignment, you'll see practice sets there. You can basically set up a Google Forms assignment, give it the answers, and then it can provide prompts on videos and tasks and stuff it can do to support you as well. So they are all available now. They're all available through Hub, so you know that the data and everything is fine. Do check them out if you are interested in finding out a little bit more. So off the back of this session, if you do want to do a little bit more reading and find out a little bit more around artificial intelligence, again, I would highly recommend the Teach AI website. So that's teachai.org. It's been put together by the team from Khan Academy, code.org, Amazon. A huge amount of big companies have kind of got together and said, right, what do teachers need to know about AI? Here's some guidance, here's some principles. And the remaining sessions that we do will be built around the principles that they have suggested. Instead, at the start of the session, the Microsoft Learn Center, you can click on that blue logo there, and that will take you through to the AI Learning Hub in Microsoft Learn. Really, really useful place to find out a little bit more about generative AI and how it can be used. If you're a school leader and you're thinking about AI and its challenges, opportunities and implications for school, Michael Fullen, Cecilia Azurin Alma Harris and Michelle Jones wrote this back in 2023, and it's a really interesting read about AI in your schools. And then finally, the AI Classroom by Dan Fitzpatrick. Again, a really good read. And also the book I mentioned at the start of the session, which is 54 or 45 different ways to support AI in your school. That is a free PDF download. So if you go to the AIeducator.io, I'll pop that in the chat for you actually. You can sign up to Dan's newsletter. He sends out loads of information every week. One of the things that he has shared is that free PDF to that book as well. So lots of information there, and I'm hoping throughout the session now you've got a deeper understanding of what AI is and how it can be used in your school. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm just going to pop up on the screen now our next session, which is next Monday, same time at 3:30. If you click on that blue link now, that will open up the booking to that session if you haven't done so already. What I'll also do is pop the link to that in a chat in a second. So if you'd like to join us next week to look at developing that guidance for your school and really unpicking what that looks like and how you can support your staff with it, then please join us next Monday. If I could ask just before the session finishes, just to provide a little bit of feedback on tonight's session. I'll pop the link in chat as well. Again, scan the QR code, the course code and the course title is there.